Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining me again tonight. And so this is going to be the final day. So this is what everyone's looking forward to when they're in a bathroom remodel, is getting those last few steps done. And hey, on the way in here, please give me a like. Really helps out that algorithm. Everyone's been doing a tremendous deal with commenting on my videos, giving me thumbs up on things, really getting things out there. Really excited to see the growth of this channel. So thanks so much to all the new subscribers. And if you don't know me yet, my name is Steve. I've been a contractor here in the Pittsburgh area for 22 years now. I started my own business when I was 21 in the year 2000. And then I started specializing in bathroom remodeling about 14 years ago. So I've been doing nothing but bathrooms. And tonight is going to be our final episode on this course that I created about bathroom remodeling. So doing an entire bathroom renovation from start to finish. And I did it in 7 days. I did it in real life time. My wife was filming me, and we just went through the strategy that I've been doing over and over for the last 14 years. So I think I bring a lot to the table. If you're a new contractor, if you're a homeowner thinking about doing a bathroom remodel, I think this course and what I have here will really help you out and answer some questions, or at least give you some guidance on how to go about this. And that's really what my channel is about, is sharing information. I'm getting a lot of feedback from a lot of other contractors on the way I've been doing things. And hey, they've been correcting me, and I'm taking that criticism in, and I'm going to implement better methods and better ways of going about things. We all never, the one major feat I think we all are contributing here, or we're all a part of, is this whole social network online that's really helping us all learn at such a tremendous pace. I mean, I feel like I've learned more in the last 5 years than I did the previous 15 for sure, because your ability to learn was limited. You didn't have the resources that you do right now. So it really is an awesome thing, and I know that I have some improvement to do. I'm always trying to improve. There isn't a job that goes by that I couldn't have done something better. So, yeah, that's, I just want to state that this channel is about learning and, trying to get things out there. And I feel that I do have some good, a pattern here that can help out anybody who is in the field. Alex, Architectural Sheet Metals, thanks for joining me here tonight. Good to see you. So let's go. I'm going to shrink myself down here. We're going to get right into it here. So as you saw that intro, that was basically the bathroom that was renovated in 7 days. It was a 1970s home, and it, as you could tell, it was pretty outdated prior to doing it. And yeah, basically the big thing that we did was, gut everything down to the studs and started everything from new. So this is going to be our form tonight. Basically, we're just doing those final pieces here. Day 6 and day 7 of a bathroom remodel. I mean, you're going to feel pretty dizzy with all of the different things that you have to do to complete it. If you're a contractor, you know what it's like. You want to get paid by the end of this job, and you need to move on to the next one. And, it's a great feeling to get finished. But at the end of these projects, there's always so many different projects, different things you're doing at the same time. And I wouldn't say day 7 is necessarily there isn't really too many timing issues with different things. You're not really concerned about grout drying anymore, or mud or paint. I memean, maybe you have some touch-ups and stuff like that, but the order of operation can kind of be whatever you feel like doing and getting into. But we're going to go over, a lot of things. There's more than just what's here, but we're going to be installing the toilet, installing a light fixture, hanging a mirror, accessories. These are all basic home improvement projects that I think, if you were doing a bathroom remodel, you've probably already done some of these tasks, or at least hope so. I would not recommend doing a bathroom remodel as one of your first home improvement projects, because there is a lot of things involved there. Maybe start out with a powder room, maybe start out with that basement bathroom. And hey, that's actually one thing I'm searching for. If you're in the Pittsburgh area and you're looking to have a new bathroom installed in your basement, that's what I am looking for, something like that, because that is something that I think a lot of people are doing these days. A lot of families are moving in together. They don't have as much I mean, the real estate market has just gone bonkers. So, it can be understandable why you wouldn't want to buy a house in this market. And I think basement bathrooms are something that a lot of people are looking to. I can't even believe I'm actually saying that, because I always used to I wouldn't even look at a basement bathroom because I know that people didn't want to spend a lot of money on it. But that's also where I think, if you're a handyman, if you're somebody who had, mechanically inclined, even thinking about doing a bathroom, that might be a place that really you would get hands on, because you don't want to spend too much. And really, at the end of the day, basement bathrooms, I mean, they are valuable, but they don't increase the value of the home tremendously. You almost don't even get the back what you put into it. So doing it yourself is kind of really important in that aspect. So anyways, I wanted to show you my estimate of basically what this bathroom is. This is kind of just to give a reference of what you might be saving doing something like this yourself, and then it just kind of highlights what we're doing. But I also ended up adding a couple of feature or things on here that kind of went through the materials, what I spent on this project. And I'm going to break this down a little bit further as time goes on here. I did just complete the course, so this is the last day of the 7-day course, but I want to implement a checklist so that you can be organized before getting started. And then I also want to really kind of break down the costs so that you really know what you're looking into and getting. And I also want to put together like a core list of materials that you or tools that you should, that are kind of essential to do this job. So I know if you're if you're a homeowner, you probably don't have all the tools that a contractor like myself would have, but I could at least give you some guidance on what the core things are that you're going to need to be able to do this project. So like I said, it's just a 5x8 bathroom, standard bathtub, toilet, 30-inch vanity, nothing tremendously out of the ordinary. This is it was a hallway bathroom, so it would be your main bathroom that you would have in, like say in your hallway of your main bathroom. There wasn't a window in there, so that kind of made it somewhat nice. And we basically gutted everything down to the studs. So as you can see here, I always kind of itemize the different parts of the project. So for the demo process. Now, demo can vary very differently from one home to the other. This was a 1970s home, and I knew right off the bat it was going to be easy the demo, because all the tile was on drywall. So, and then there was vinyl flooring. I didn't have any tile to remove. So when you're getting into older homes, it can actually be a lot more difficult to remove all this stuff. A lot of these like mud bed jobs, like where they would have 2 inches of mud on the walls that they would screed and then tile over, that I would probably triple that price for the demo on something like that. And then if there was other odd scenarios, you just want to be able to add on costs because it might take longer to demo. It really is important to demo properly. It makes everything, you don't want to damage your plumbing that's existing. You don't want to damage the wiring that there's existing. But for the most part, there's not too many unknowns when it comes to demo, because you're taking everything down to the studs. And that's one of the reasons I always recommend to people to, if you're going to start a bathroom like this and you're getting a new tub, you're getting a new toilet, you're getting a new vanity, and you're putting a new floor down, I mean, you really should just gut the bathroom to the studs. It'll make it easier to install the tub. It'll make it easier to see the wiring, see the plumbing. You don't want to be putting thousands of dollars over something that might not be in good condition. And a lot of these homes, I mean, especially when you're talking about 50 years old now, you could have had a renovation prior to you owning the property, and there might be a lot of stuff that's not right. Or, if it was never done, you want to see the condition of that plumbing and that electrical. But anyways, demo, $1,200. Now this is Pittsburgh pricing, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. If you live in LA, if you live in even Philadelphia, this is all going to be a lot more expensive for you. But I just have a couple of small items that cost me money here. I do have a pickup truck, so I'm able to just take it to a transfer station. I actually have a dump trailer, so I put it in that. But a lot of times I do just put it in the back of the pickup, and I have my dump trailer at home that I empty everything into. So we had a transfer fee of about $175 to get rid of all the debris. I had to get some carpet guard and some plastic. So you're talking about $300 worth of materials on the demo day. It is important to get some carpet guard or something to protect your your belongings. I always tell the clients, hey, can you please just put plastic over all of your stuff? I don't want to be responsible for the dust harming or hurting anything. And then we get into I have a separated part for the plumbing. So I include the tub that I'm going to be purchasing, the tub and shower faucet. We went with a Delta on this one, and then making sure that they know that I'm going to be putting a waterproof system on here. Now I kind of put in my quote, I referenced Weedy waterproofing panels. That is a great system. I absolutely love Weedy, but it is expensive, and it's pretty much twice as expensive as what the type of boards that I used in this project. I used Go Board, and I was just actually going over the math. It was only $275 for the Go Board, the sealant, the screws, and the valve seals that I needed to put on the tub. So, it's hard to beat being under $300 to waterproof a tub surround. So, but yeah, I mean, the tub was probably an average size cost, $570. The drain assembly usually over $100. The shower faucet would be about $200. So I had about $1,900 worth of materials in this portion of the project, doing the plumbing and the underlayments. And in reality, I probably spent a little bit more than that because I always buy extra parts. There's no sense in just buying, 2 elbows. I buy the whole pack of 10. There's a lot of different things that, there's a lot of fittings that you end up buying extra. Now, that I could have obviously taken that to the store and returned it. So I'm just trying to be clear of like what the actual cost of what I installed, but you most likely are going to be spending a little bit more up front because you just want to make sure that you have enough of everything. The worst thing is to run out and then having to go to Depot or Lowe's and having to spend all that time just getting one more fitting that you needed. So be prepared to spend a little bit more than what I have on this because you're going to probably need to get additional items. And hey, if Sawzall blades aren't cheap, the circular saw blades aren't cheap, all those things add up. And I didn't really incorporate it into the total cost of things. This is just strictly the materials that were used in the project. Hey, Troy, good to see you. Yeah, Weedy, $90, $90 for a 3x5 sheet. Yeah, they're really ripping you off there. That's pretty bogus. You definitely need to fight them down on that if you ever were to use that from them. They definitely they're like that with their tile and everything. I hate to say anything bad about any company, but some of those places really gouge the retail buyer. $90 is literally twice as much as what I pay for it there. I mean, now obviously you're not going to get contractor pricing unless you're a contractor. But boy, $90 a sheet for that is a little insane. Yeah, that's yeah, Go Board's $25 a sheet. You can't beat it. I mean, it really. Now, Weedy is a better product. It really is. It's waterproof all the way through. It's a little bit more rigid than Go Board. There's a lot of reasons, and it's an all-inclusive system because they have the valve seals. They have all the different components that go with it. So you'll be able to keep a good warranty. I'd actually have to look into GM with Go Board and what they say about the warranties of using like different products. Like, they don't have everything. They basically just have the board, the screws, and the sealant. They don't have any like seaming tape. They don't have any valve seals that I'm aware of. So there's some things that they're missing with their system, and I don't know whether they warrant that or not. I have to look into that honestly. But for a tub surround, I mean, it's definitely the way to go. So my electrical bid, I always say to get a good vent fan. I think a vent fan is one of the most important components to your bathroom because moisture is what causes most of the problems. And if you don't have a good vent fan, if you have a builder's grade vent fan, they don't really do anything for the most part. They just make a lot of noise. And, if you're having problems with any surface mold and things like that, it's probably because you just don't have enough ventilation. So getting a good fan, it'll cost you about $160. I really love the Panasonic fans. I think they're really well made, and I've probably installed 40, 50 of these things and never had a callback or an issue. And the great thing is that they allow you to select the CFM power going out. So you can get You can have it at 50 CFM if you want to save on electricity, and say maybe you don't use that bathroom all that much and you don't need the volume going out. But then you can select it over to 110 CFM and get some real flow going out of that bathroom. And you can always tell like how well a fan works by just putting a piece of paper or something up against the ceiling and see how that sucks up against that fan. Do that on your own existing little builder's grade one. Most of the time you can't even get a piece of paper to stick to them. So that means that there's no air going out of those things. Basically the electrical is really not usually that expensive unless you're running a dedicated line or doing something additional, because really, if you're using existing wiring, switches aren't very expensive. A GFI is not very expensive, but I did end up running a dedicated circuit for this bathroom. So it did go a little bit over what I have here, but really, most of the time I only have about $250 wrapped up into this. So it's about $500 for the labor of doing the electrical work. That's usually, that's about fair. I mean, it probably takes you 3 to 4 hours to complete whatever you're installing on a typical bathroom. Drywall painting. Now this is definitely where you make a profit as a contractor because of the time involved and, painting and drywall finishing and all that stuff. I mean, especially if you're doing it for a client, they have expectations of what they want it to look like. They expect you to be a professional at it. But if you're a homeowner doing this stuff, if you can keep working at this, and it's not gonna, that's why I say always take everything down to the studs, because finishing like 6 or 7 sheets of drywall isn't really that much work. And if you're at home and this is your own home, you can keep going over it until you get it to a smooth surface, until you get it to where you're happy with it. As a contractor, that's really painful to keep coming back. So, a contractor's skill level should be better than what you can do as a homeowner. But you being at home, being able to keep addressing the corners or the seams or whatever, it's really not a big deal to you. And it's not going to cost you a whole lot. So you got about $360 in material for drywall and painting, and paint is pretty much the most expensive part of that. I think paint now is like $60 a sheet now. So what are your thoughts, Alex? You're asking me what are the thoughts about ceiling glass from floor to ceiling. If you do that, you're going to definitely trap the moisture in the shower area, and if you have drywall on the ceiling, you could have some decent moisture issues. I typically don't run my glass to the ceiling. I can understand why you might want that look, but that would kind of almost create like a steam shower situation where you're going to trap air in, like that moisture in that cavity. So if you tiled the ceiling, you'd be good to go. But I probably wouldn't do that if it's just a regular drywalled ceiling per se. And that's a pretty big piece of glass too. And that's, to get it tight to the ceiling, floor to ceiling will be a little bit of a challenge too, just because, I'm not sure, if you U-channel or whatever, but it's going to be it'll be a nice tight fit. That's for sure. But, I've done it for glass enclosures for, steam showers, but I never really just put a panel in, just on a standard bathroom with a drywall ceiling. I've always had the tiled ceiling up there. Anyways, getting into the tub surround, as a contractor, I always kind of highlight what kind of project, or give at least an image of what my tile layout would be. And you can get as detailed as you want in here. And if you're a contractor who's done a lot of bathrooms and you already have a lot of representations of what maybe people are going to want to do, or hey, have them send over their initial picture of what they want their tub surround to be and incorporate that into your contract, because you don't want them coming home with marble, wanting you to do a herringbone pattern or doing, some kind of specialty mosaic border at the same price as what you were thinking you were doing subway tile for. So I think it's always important to give an image or give some kind of a layout to your client. So I guess I'm talking to contractors on this one, but it is good to know what you're getting into, and kind of, at least referencing what kind of tile you're going to be installing. So in this one, I was just going to be doing 6x6 tiles, ceramic. I think that's the same category as subway tile for the most part. So this is where, as a contractor, you make most of your money, is setting the tile, because of the specialty installation of all of this. And, you can usually, I like to itemize out my contracts like this because, it kind of just gives a reference of, what they're getting into. It brings transparency to things. So maybe some people want to just put one price at the bottom. I like to break it up like this, but I do pad my tiling installation because, it is a specialty installation. But really, this was the bathroom that we did, the subway tile, just for reference here again, is this is just 6x6 tile and just a simple mosaic border at the top. So nothing too tremendously fancy. It does have bullnose around the niche, and then we did like a quartz top. These quartz sills you can get from Home Depot are pretty cheap. I think it was $40 for a 4-foot section. So I was just able to cut that down. And so everything else is pretty simple. So really the tile in this bathroom, including the mosaics, was under $500. Wasn't very expensive. So I only had $900 wrapped up with the thin set. So a thin set, sponges. I always get the Ardex sponges, scrubby pads, about $200. So the most of the thin set that I buy is roughly around $30 a bag, $40 a bag. And in my course, I obviously go through a whole bunch of things about thin sets. And, as a DIYer, you really need some time to install tile. So you want to get a thin set that's going to last a long time in the bucket, and that's not going to dry up on you really quickly. So this is a big number here. I mean, it only took me 2 days to tile the entire bathroom. So $900, that's a good day. That's a good couple of days work there. And then we get into the floor. So I just highlight the floor because I want to specify what I'm installing. You don't want somebody coming home with penny tile and expect you to install at the same price as 12 by 24 inch tile. Doing 12 by 24s could take you 3 hours to install, maybe not even that really, but penny tile and trying to prep for that, it could definitely take you twice as long, and you just have to be more delicate with the smaller tiles. And then you're grouting, if you're grouting, 100 little tiny pieces around penny tile or 1x1 tile, it's going to take you more time, and it's going to take up a lot more grout as well too. So I usually charge about, for a relatively small floor, 30, 40 square feet, about $800. And, I have about $75 in thin set. And that's kind of generous. I probably won't even spend that much, but I always have I always get 2 bags just in case I don't want to run out. That's the biggest thing. You don't want to run out of materials. You can always return the stuff. If you run out, then it's just a real pain in the neck. And I use my leveling clips, so that's like about $50 I account for. Now I buy big bulk bags of it, so it probably really does cost me less than that. But as far as you ordering a kit, I probably should increase that because you're probably going to have to spend $85. If you don't have any leveling clips at all, the ones that I recommend, the kit is about $90. So you're going to have a little bit more cost into that. And then the grout usually is about $100. So you're not talking about a whole lot of money for a floor, $225. So that's $600 for a few hours of work. That's it's not a bad, bad gig there at all. And then I highlight the vanity I'm installing. This was just kind of a Home Depot special. Wasn't anything particularly expensive. $350 countertop in the 30-inch vanity. Has drawers, has everything everybody wants. But it wasn't exactly high end. I wouldn't exactly consider it. Most 30-inch vanities that if you want to get a decent quality, like a real quality one, is going to well over $1,000. Probably $1,000 to $1,500 is like a normal range for that. But really, at the end of the day, these things are going to hold up fairly well. And I'm saying that like you get water. I mean, if you have a leak or something, yeah, you got major problems. But if you take care of it, I've seen these things last a very long time. Got just a simple Delta sink faucet, so about $100 for that. And one of my favorite toilets. We're going to get into the installation of this tonight. But the Cadet 3 is one of my favorites. I think it's reasonably priced, and I've never really had an issue with it. So all in all, on this part here was about $1,300. In hindsight now, looking at this, I'm going to have to start increasing this price here because this was a little bit more labor to install this than making $300 off of that. So my prices are increased as inflation increases, as everything else increases. But this is the bottom line. This is really, I feel that most of your standard bathrooms like this, gutted and redone, is going to be between 12 and 15,000, and that's just for reasonably priced stuff. You can go overboard on all of this stuff and spend thousands of dollars and be way over budget, but this was just basically a nice looking bathroom that had some decent products that will last a long time. So all in all, my materials were about $4,900, and so you're going to be able to save yourself $7,000, $1,000 a day, basically, if you were able to do this in that 7-day period. So that's at least gives you an indication of, if you follow this guidance of this course. It also kind of gives you a reference of, hey, if right now I'm only selling this course for $25 because I still want to, put together a checklist, and I want to add a couple other things. And really, I want to get 100 people into this course before increasing the price. Right now, I got about 78 people. So if I get another 20 people or so in here, and I will be increasing the price. It's not going to be much. I really wanted people just to gain out of this. I have Amazon links. I have different things of bringing revenue through this. So the price of the course, I think you're going to like the experience of the Teachable course. I really do. I think it's much better than just watching everything on YouTube, because you're not getting distracted. You're not having all the ads. So let me see if I got any other comments. Thanks, Philip. Appreciate it. Corner niches are awesome. I really do like those corner niches. So if you go to my YouTube channel, and you want to see this entire course, you don't have to buy the course. You can actually just go on my YouTube channel and watch every one, because we're on our final episode, our final, part 2 of day 7. So if you go up to playlists and go down to view full playlist here, you'll see all the other parts here. Now, most of these are about an hour and a half. That's probably what I'm going to go tonight as well. I'm already in the half an hour. So you're going to be watching ads every 10 minutes in here, unless you're paying to not watch them. But you'll be able to get this entire course on here if you want to just browse through here, watch this, and you might see that's what the value I have in this course. So the course is on bathroomremodeling.teachable.com. Where did my little thing go? Oh, I'm missing that. Anyways, bathroomremodeling.teachable.com. And I have that. I just put that in the live chat. I also have it in the link of the description as well. But right now I have 2 courses available. I have one, the tub and shower one that I'm working on now, that I'm keeping at a reasonable price until I get 100 people in there. The other one I have is for custom glass enclosures. So if you're thinking about doing custom glass enclosures, Alex, if you want to do this yourself, I got some tips in here about measuring and getting things ordered. I don't have anything for a single panel, but I think that's roughly easy enough to bring to your glass company with a measurement. You're not really, you're not doing any L notches or anything like that on there. But anyways, I felt that the glass enclosure was something that, a skilled tile guy or somebody, a homeowner that just can't afford to have this done. This is usually the most expensive part of a custom shower, especially if you have a corner shower system like this. You can get quotes between $2,500 and $3,500 all day long. So it becomes a very, very expensive end product. And, I think the guidance I have in this course will set you straight to be able to do it yourself and literally save yourself thousands of dollars, because most of these most glass enclosures, you're looking at maybe $1,500 at the max. Now, it obviously depends on the size of your shower, but most showers, it's under $1,500 for the actual glass, and then your hardware can kind of be all over the place. But relatively, you're about, between $1,500 and $1,700 for the glass. So again, you're basically cutting the cost in half by doing it yourself. And really, if you screw up a panel, if for some reason that you mismeasured, you're still going to be way under what somebody else is going to be able to do it for. So check that out. I think that would help you out a lot. Hey, Chris, thanks. I'm glad you liked the course. Yeah, Apprentice Drew. Yeah, it's in the in my live chat if you scroll up, and then I also have it in the description as well. So let me go back to this, and I'll look at this as a student. So if you were to purchase both of these courses, you'd have both of them available. My ultimate goal here is I have 4 more walk-in showers that I did last year that I'm editing currently, now that I got the course kind of like the main video part done, I'm basically this week I'm focusing on the checklist. And then after that, I'm going to be working on another course. So what I would like to see this whole thing turn into is just multiple courses for different style bathrooms. Really makes a difference if you're basically following guidance on something that is really relative to your specific situation. It definitely helps out to be able to see what it looks like for, a lot of these homes, especially, in the last 50 years, they're not, I wouldn't say they're the same, but they're definitely, the strategies that plumbers have and the way they go about things and the common problems that you see are kind of all the same. So, this course doesn't necessarily completely highlight what a 1920s home looks like and what issues you're going to have with it, because, the framing wasn't what it is now. I mean, the framing back then was pretty rough cut. They used plaster, they used lath board, they used, some of them did that mud walls. So it's a very different scenario when it comes into old homes. And so what I'm hoping is, I'll get my next bathroom will be like an older home or a basement bathroom, and, you can follow the guidance through there. But anyways, this is a long, further input for another day. But, my goal is to have teachable.com house a whole bunch of different courses that will, be able to highlight your specific project. But this is why I'm starting this one now. I thought this was the most basic type of bathroom. I think this is the one that, people can save themselves a decent amount of money on, and they can feel confident they can get through, through this entire process. So again, and just going through the entire process of installing the tub, or demo process to installing the tub, to installing the tub and shower faucet, doing the waterproofing system. This is that Go board. This is the one I told you it was under $275 with the niche, so that's a really good price for waterproofing. That's kind of hard to beat. You could probably do cement board and red guard, but then you're going to take up a lot more time. This allows you to basically get tiling the next day. Red guard over concrete board, technically you need 2 coats of red guard. All of that can take a lot more time, and for $275, I mean, you might be able to save yourself $50 or something like that if you use cement board. But I go through the hanging of drywall, finishing, tiling. I really like epoxy grout, so this might be something that you necessarily don't want to upgrade to, but if you're doing white grout, I really highly recommend using epoxy. Epoxy is definitely, I feel, is some of the most stain resistant type of grout out there. It's a smooth consistency, and for white, that's what commercial kitchens use. So if they can handle those areas, definitely going to handle your bathroom. But all of this stuff, all of the teachings that I'm putting in here, these are things that I've been doing over and over again for years, and I'm by myself. I'm working by myself. So I have my wife videoing me. Prior to that, I used to have somebody else videoing me that, took all my videos. But, anyways, it's just a matter of basically the teachings are is one man can do most of all these things. So a lot of the strategies I have in here are about doing this yourself. You're not needing help. I mean, obviously, a helping hand every now and again can really make a big difference, especially when you're doing different plumbing connections. Hanging the drywall on the ceiling would certainly be nice. But you can do all of this yourself, and so those are the teachings I'm going to be showing you. So let me see if I have any other comments here. Josh, yeah, I mean, yeah, I do. I definitely, yeah, I have more, now that I'm really putting myself out here on all these channels, I got way more inquiries than I can handle, but, ultimately the course, doing all this stuff, I mean, I'm looking to slow down a little bit. I don't want to do 2 bathrooms a month or one. Well, I guess for the last year or so, 2 years, it's basically been 1 bathroom a month. I haven't, the days when I was 32, I was doing 2 bathrooms a month. But that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I mean, even at a 7-day pace, it's still like it's wearing on your body. This is a lot of work, and you'll see in these videos I'm sweating all the time. It is. I mean, it keeps me fit. I love it, and that's basically at someday. That's what I'm hoping I'll have to do it for is just get some content and a good workout. So anyways, this is the course. We're going to go into it tonight. We're going to get into that final day, but just to show you kind of the way it works is I have it outlined day by day. So at each beginning of each day, I have basically the goals of the day, and it basically highlights, keeping you focused on what you need to get done each day. And I have a lot of helpful links here that will keep you organized. You want, like day one, when you're demoing, you better get some shark bite caps. You want to get the water back on the home. If you have family members that are staying home and they work at home, they're going to want the water on. And if you're a contractor working for a client, it gives them a lot of anxiety not having their water on. So I usually, I turn off the water when I get started, and I gut everything out, and then I cap those lines, and I turn the water back on. And that makes everybody a lot happier. But if you don't have the proper tools or the equipment to do that, then you're just prolonging that process, and it's causing stress for everybody. So that's really what this is about. This is also selfishly helping me out too, because rather than me thinking about it all the time, even though I've done many, many, many bathrooms and I don't really have to think, and I have a trailer full of tools and everything else, it's still nice to refer and get organized in your mind what you're going to be doing next. So even if you just came through here, you don't have to watch the video every time. You can just come in here and browse through my highlighted points. So these are just basically images as I'm pulling from the video to remind you, hey, get a temporary light fixture. You're going to need that on day one so that you can see the rest of the bathroom. Make sure you have that vent fan at your house before you even start the demo. You want to get that vent fan in that first day. So all these little points and all these different things that I have in here will help you out. You can go here and try to find your own transfer station near you. This is basically where you take your household goods. And then I have my Amazon store that you can browse through. And I even have like a demo day prep. So you can go in here, see what kind of tools I always have on hand to do this stuff. So anyways, that's how it's kind of basically laid out. And so we'll go through. Let me see if I can, I don't think I get back to that original screen. Yeah. Once I'm in the course, you end up having your sidebar here that can outline from day 1 through day 7. So you can just go through here. What's nice about this too is like, see how this little indicator shows that I didn't walk all the way through it. It just kind of reminds you to, hey, come back there. You didn't go all the way through the whole thing, or you didn't watch the whole video. It's nice in that aspect. But really, if you buy this course, I'm hoping you're buying this way in advance before you're actually doing your bathroom, so that you can be organized and, browse through this the night before or the week before, so that you're prepared for each day. But having it outline each day, the order of this project doesn't really matter how many days it takes you. This is just basically a strategy and a guidance to be able to get you to that 7 days. So yeah, basically day 1 is demo, vent fan, hanging of the drywall. Day 2 is the big plumbing day. You're putting in your tub, you're putting in your drain assembly, you're putting in your tub and shower faucet. And I should actually mention, we might as well just do this right now, because I added one on here that I actually forgot because I didn't have my videos organized. But this sink drain, I forgot to add this. This was on day 2. At the end of day 2, I completely forgot that this is something I wanted to do. Now, obviously, this it all depends on your own situation. Maybe your plumbing for your sink is totally fine and you're just going to reuse it. But I'll show you why I needed to change this. So we'll go through this real quick because I forgot to add this onto day 2. But this is moving a sink drain and making it a little bit higher so it can fit my cabinet right. Okay, so again, this T is all messed up, or not messed up, but it's welded into this, and I don't want to attach a fern coat to this, so I'd just rather replace the whole T. Plus, it's a little bit low. I usually like it about 19 inches now with the bigger. So yeah, if you see like this is like all soldered in there, so the only way that you're going to be able to really, you can heat that up and resolder another one. I wouldn't do that. What I see a lot of people doing is just adding fern coats on here and then adding their trap to it. And that's a really, really ugly way to do it. And plus this is clogged in here. This pipe is all nasty and old. So when you see something like this, you're just better off to cut it and replace it. Vanities. So we're just going to cut this copper pipe. Those heavy metal blades really make a difference too. And I'm just using a Fernco on here. There's a lot of plumbers out there that,
this is 1.25 inches.
We'll get into that.
1.5 inches. So on the copper, I'm just going to put the 1.25 inches. It fits better that way. Okay, so we'll go 19 inches off the floor. So we just need about a 3-inch piece.
So yeah, 19 inches works pretty well for the most part. It allows you to still put a 6-inch extension on your trap. But pay attention to your vanity that you're actually purchasing and make sure that there isn't any shelving in there, and you can adjust the height to whatever works best. A lot of times if you have an open face drawer at the bottom, 21 inches usually works, but you really have to, each cabinet's a little bit different. You want to reference that. And if you have drawers and stuff too, you want to make sure that, you know, the outlet of your drain's going to work with any of the drawers as well.
Down into my hub.
So this was just like a really simple fix, and this is just going to make everything easier for the new connection. Now I'm just using a circular saw for that, but you know, a trim saw would make a better cut, a better straight cut. But you know, there's always a way to be better, you know, and I'm about efficiency and getting things done, and you know, not that I don't want to be accurate. It's just accuracy does take time. So does cleaning. So does everything else. So, you know, so I did rush through this job quite a bit because we had a lot to get done in 7 days, and I really wanted to do it because I don't want to be claiming something that I haven't done before. And
Okay, and then we'll just put the fitting in here after the drywall's in. But that'll be a much better setup here.
So that was day 2. That was basically in preparation because the next day I was installing the drywall. So I wanted to show you this because I wanted to show you how easy it is to actually move a drain. So that's one of the reasons I like to remove all the drywall, so I can address plumbing issues like this. And it's a really simple installation once you get everything out of the way. So thanks again. Give me a like and follow me for more tips like this. I didn't realize that video was what I had on YouTube, so sorry. I forgot that I even had that in at the end. But anyways, that is the reason I like having all the drywall out. This repair right here would have been a real pain in the neck if I was trying to maneuver existing stuff. So anyways, down below, this is the way the organization is. It's always kind of referencing, you know, kind of the main tips. So if you see something like that, you want to cut out this old deal. Evaluate your copper, you know, see if it's extremely green or white down here. If you know, really kind of put your hand on it and see if it hasn't, you know, if it's really rigid, look down into that pipe, see how well it looks. I mean, this stuff is all really still in good condition, so there was no reason to replace the copper. The copper would probably, you know, last another 50 years, probably no problem. But some of the cheaper thin-walled copper that they started using in the 80s and 90s, well, not really the 90s, but 80s anyways, you have to be careful with because they're really thin-walled, and, you know, you could, some of it, I mean, I've literally had some situations where you can just take your hand and crush the copper. So pay attention to that. If you have a lot of excessive green, you got to really pay attention to see whether that piping is any good. But a lot of times, the copper that was used in the 70s are pretty dang good. And then I have a link to this torch blade. These things are awesome. They cut cast iron. They cut all types of things. They last a really long time. I have a link there for you to check it out. And then this is one thing that, you know, even with my electrical and my plumbing, you know, you have to think about what your own code requirements are and where you're at. But I was just using a Fernco. I've been using that for a long time. That does not mean that's the absolute, it's the correct fitting. A lot of plumbers and inspectors want to see a mission cup link like this with a metal band around it. And as you can see, it says it's for PVC and to copper. So you can buy, I have that in here. So this mission cup link, if this would have been the better fitting to honestly use in that situation, and the band just tightens around the copper better. But at the time I had just the fern coat. It works fine. I've been using it, like I said, for I've never had an issue. But there are some plumbers and inspectors that have a problem with just using a standard fern coat. Make sure you deburr that copper. I didn't really show that. You want to make sure there isn't any burrs around that copper when you're attaching it. Determining your height, like I said, making sure you check with that Vanity that you actually own. And then I just have some helpful links. But this is the other thing. If you ever had a question about a specific problem with yours, you could add a picture, and I could try to help you out through there. So I wanted to get through that because I missed that on day 2. So day 3, it's the framing, blocking. This is a really important aspect of getting your walls flat, adding that blocking for the accessories. The GFI outlet that we needed to run, I needed to run that as well. Hanging the rest of the drywall, putting that first coat of mud on. That's a timing issue. You want to get that first coat of mud on day 3 so that it can dry in order so that by day 6 you can actually paint the bathroom, because you don't want to be installing a vanity into wet paint. You're end up gonna have to get scuff marks. You're gonna have to touch things up. So day 6 you really want to paint, and the only way you're gonna get there is by getting that first coat of mud on day 3. And then we do the waterproofing of the tub surround on day 3. So really, according to my outline, if you're just able to take a week off of work and you're trying to strive to get this 7-day deal done, it's a tough accomplishment to do. And I think my guidance will help you get there. But if you have more plumbing problems, if you had more issues than you thought you had, if you get to day 3, you're going to have a functional bathroom. And if it's your only bathroom in the home or something like that, you'll be able to put your cartridge in, put a shower head on, because you'll have the waterproofing walls up. Once you have the waterproofing up, it's technically, you're totally fine. I mean, the tile is just a decorative part of the process of the project. It's what makes it, makes things nice, but the waterproofing is what's important. So you could technically take a shower in here by day 3. According to my plan. So, and I really feel, regardless of your skill level, I shouldn't say that necessarily. Again, if you're doing a bathroom model, don't start as your first major home improvement project. Please do some, renovate your foyer, renovate your powder room, renovate something else, and get your hands on those tools before starting a bathroom remodel. But if you're, fairly mechanically inclined, by the end of the first week, you'll be able to at least have a functional bathroom back together. I really feel that that's very possible. Day 4, we get into the flooring, waterproofing the floor, the tile layout. This is when we start the tiling process of the tub surround. So we got that go board up on day 3. We move on to doing the tiling of the back wall and the side wall of the shower. We're doing that second coat of mud on all the walls. You need to get that second coat of drywall mud so that it can dry for day 6. We're doing the tile floor layout. And then a big key here that really makes things helpful is setting your mosaics on a Curdy band. So a membrane, you can, like a lot of these mosaics that they're coming out now when you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, they're really, really thin now, and they're really difficult to install because of the thinness of them. Some of them are only like a 1/4 inch thick. They still look like the same glass mosaic or that really nice looking stuff, but they're really thin, and that really is difficult to match up and make it even with the rest of your tiles. So if you set your mosaics on a sheet membrane the night before, you'll be able to just plop that up as a whole single piece of tile, and you're not having to constantly clean out those joints. That's a real big helpful thing here, but you want to do that on day 4 so that you can complete your tub surround on day 5. So you're finishing that tub plumbing wall, doing that niche. That's going to take up a big bulk of the day. The niches definitely take some time. You might be miscutting things a lot and having to do it over again or whatever. I still have to do many things over and over again because I don't have the cuts that fit perfectly the way I want them. But setting that mosaic will be a breeze if you have it set on the sheet membrane before. You do that third coat of mud, and then you set that tile floor on day 5. Day 6, You're going to do that final coat of mud first thing in the morning, because I want to paint. I want to get everything painted on day 6. The only way it's going to happen is if you immediately get on that drywall. I recommend you getting some kind of hot mud. So like I use a 5-minute mud, and that just addresses some of the imperfections that I might have. And then I can immediately wet sand it and get the primer coat on it. And once you prime things, then you'll be able to find out more imperfections that you need to address. So you use a little bit more 5-minute mud and address those things. But yeah, painting is a big thing. And then we do the grouting of the tub surround. Now I was doing the epoxy, so it does take a little bit more time to actually do all of that. It's just a little bit, the biggest thing about epoxy grout, I feel, is just setting it. Setting it is what takes most of the work involved. Cleaning, it's not a big deal as long as you pay attention to the timing of when to remove it. So I have a lot of great tips in there on the epoxy grouting. If you want to take that extra step and really ensure that you have a stain resistant grout, I really feel that the epoxy is the way to go. Priming and caulking. So I use a fast drying caulking because I want to be able to get everything painted. So doing a quick dry siliconized latex caulk really helps out, doing the perimeter around your tile up to the ceiling and then around the edges and stuff. So, that's an important, because again, I want to get everything painted day 6 so I can install that vanity. Put my shower faucet trim in, make sure I have that, anti-scald mechanism set on there. And if you do a Delta shower faucet, you'll really find it's a very easy system to install. Doing the painting, always 2 coats of paint. There's really no way out of it. So, have a fan, blow, be fanning your bathroom so you can immediately get that second coat on there. And then I like to caulk the tub and the surround as well. And then grouting the floor is the last thing, because I don't want to get anything in my grout. So grouting the floor would be the last part of day 6. So day 7, let's just, actually I want to show you the intro video if you haven't already seen it. So let's click on here. And you'll see a lot of my videos. They're straight to the point. I'm not over belaboring things. I don't think there's any point in, really highlighting simple, matter of fact things. I don't have a really long intros of any sort. It's really just getting down to the brass tacks and getting through. And then, like I said, I have a whole list of things below that you can browse through, so you don't have to waste your time watching anything again. But let's go through day 7, just so you know how I like to organize this day, and then we'll get into the light fixture and the mirror and finishing off some of these accessories. All right, so day 7, this is the final day. We should be able to wrap things up, but hey, don't feel bad if you didn't get it done in that amount of time. I'm sure there might have been some other unexpected things, or if you were missing items that it took you a little bit longer. This is really just a guidance on how to go about doing it. So the order of operation is all the same, but my hope is that you were able to do it in 7 days. That would really make me happy to be able to see you get that accomplished. But today we're just going to be focusing on putting in the toilet and all those accessories. So like I said, day 7 is really kind of, you can make it the way you want it to, but that's the way I go about it, because I like to get the electrical in, because I'm going to be doing the light fixture. And, this is kind of like a thing that I immediately want to get into. So we already expressed this on the part, day 7, part 1. So if you want to review that, go back to my YouTube channel. You can see that as well. Put in my GFI. That's kind of easier without the cabinet in place. I can just, stand right there and put it in. This is usually a pretty easy installation. And then we install the vanity. So that's why it's important to have all these walls painted. It's nice to have it 24 hours of dryness so I don't scratch anything up. So the paint actually has some durability to it. So we install that vanity, install that faucet. And then this is what we're going to be getting into tonight, installing that light fixture, installing a mirror. Now, these are, like I said, a lot of basic things that you probably already have done, but I do give you some additional tips here. This is one of my favorite toilets. I want to talk about toilets tonight, and just some different strategies of addressing the flange, putting up your accessories, and then just a carpet tuck at the end. So this is just then I have all these different links here that can be helpful tools and different things for what we're doing. So getting into the light fixture and mirror. So none of these are going to be very long tonight as far as we get into, but I did want to reference. Now, a lot of this, since we already had everything gutted, you should have already kind of had something set up in place in this particular situation. But I thought it was important to provide 3 different ways of going about installing a box for your light fixture, because there's, obviously there's different scenarios that can happen. And the one that I demonstrate tonight, I actually had a stud that was basically right in line with where my fixture needed to be. So having a wall stud right in directly where my box needed to be, I ended up going with a pancake box. But here is 3 scenarios and 3 different ways of going about mounting a box for your light fixture. I don't even have anything saying on here. I'm just kind of going through it. But putting blocking up. So if you can do this prior to putting up that drywall, then you can just get a regular standard box and screw it in anywhere around here. But what I always like to do is, so as you can see here, I can just place that in, screw it in place. But I never really have my boxes mounted before drywall, because sometimes things change as far as the location of where that light fixture is. And I've just learned the hard way of, if you put a box in, most likely it's going to have to be moved, and that's a lot more work than it does. So an old work box is something that you can use. I would not recommend this. I really don't like this scenario. But when, like this particular bathroom I was doing this on, the walls were all kept intact. I didn't gut everything down in the studs in this bathroom. This is a big master bathroom, and this was a newer home. This was built in the later 90s. So everything was in good condition. I just needed to add some light fixtures, and we had a vanity that we added on. So I didn't have the ability to put any blocking behind it. So these old bark boxes, they can hold up to about 50 pounds of weight. But I prefer to have things screwed into actual wood blocking. They definitely is a safer way to go, or a better way to connect. But they are simple and they are effective. And then this is this fixture here, using a pancake box, because I had a stud that went right up into the middle of that. So this is the best way to go about that. Just getting something that is as thick as the drywall, mounting it on there, and connecting that light fixture. So just to go over some references, this is why I don't have those boxes set in place. So this was about 7 inches from the ceiling. Typically, it depends on the height of your ceiling. If you have 9-foot ceilings, it's going to be completely different. But typically it's between 7 and 10 inches from the ceiling is where you usually put that light fixture for a mirror. But it always depends on the mirror that you're actually purchasing. So that's why I like to have just the drywall, or just have the wire poking out of there, because I can patch a little hole much easier than having to move the box and everything. So typically, when I don't really know what I'm working with or what I'm going to be doing yet, I'll just make this hole about 8 inches off of the ceiling on an 8-foot ceiling, and just poke my wire there. That's where I put my temporary light fixture on. And then I can adjust things if I need to be. But as you can see, I had a stud right through there, so that's exactly where that pancake box worked out pretty well. So yeah, so I recommend 8 to 10 and 12 inches on a standard ceiling height. But again, it depends on the mirror that you're actually installing. But installing blocking behind it is the best way to go, because then you can just mount this box easily anywhere you want it to be. And then I have links to these fixtures just so you have a reference online to be able to purchase it. But all these things are, obviously at the big box stores. Then this is the pancake box. So this is only a 1/2 inch thick. That's what I used there. So here real quick on the light fixture, we'll just show you the installation of that. Okay, so our mirror lighting, we went up a little bit higher than what I typically do, but you really just want to make sure that when you put your light fixture up, that you're not too close to the ceiling. So the way these loop around, the 7 inches should work from the ceiling. And then we want to find the center of our vanity. So we got 15 inches. So we just want to make sure that we stick this centered at 15 inches as well. So that should be fine. So I would just use a drywall knife on this pancake box for this. Basically a thin metal box that will be as thick as the drywall. And the main reason I'm doing that in this particular situation is because I have a stud that goes right in the center all the way down through the vanity area. So this works perfectly because you can just screw this into place and it'll be a good mounting box. If you don't have this, using an old work box can work as well if you just have drywall. So yeah, make sure you have a Romex connector.
Alright, so make sure that this is sticking out a 1/4 inch. So when you wire nut it, it grabs them both together and winds them around the copper. Pull on that.
That is an important detail, that braided line. No, I actually redid the connections again because you need to get that little bracket on there first. You know, that's a brain fart on that one. But
so as you can see, this really makes a good sound connection or anchor point having that box in there.
I actually had to redo my wires because you want to put that through the center of that mounting bracket. Now, when you're installing these, every fixture is a little bit different and a little bit more difficult to actually thread into place. I personally really despise these type of ball type of anchors, but a lot of fixtures do have them. I would just recommend maybe using something that would be a little more delicate on it. I was using linesman's to do it, but you can easily scratch these little ball thread on ports. So be careful if you're using linesman's like that. Okay. So that's it. So, and then below, I just kind of reference everything that I just did there. These Romex connectors, these plastic ones, really nice to install, very easy. And then I just want to indicate this again, making sure that that braided line that you have for your light fixture extends past your copper line. Because then when you put that wire nut on there, it really grabs onto it and really makes a good connection. Always tug on your connections before you go mounting it. But these wire nuts are usually a lot better than the ones that come with the cheap fixtures. So I always try to use these, but you know, the ones that they come with do work. It's just these are better in my mind. And just secure them into place. And what did I have the mirror in this one. That's right. So the mirror is also in here. This is not going to take long here, but this is just the way I go about it. This, you know, having a laser tremendously makes things easier. You know, you're going to really need a laser you don't need it for setting tile, but boy, it really makes a big difference. It makes a lot. I mean, a laser can be just used for so many different things, and this would be one of them.
Okay, so let's just take a look at what this is going to look good with the mirror. That's probably not a bad location. So go about a 1/2 inch up from here. So measure down your loop rings here. So we got 10 7/8, and then we got 25.
So you can see just having that laser set up makes it all that much easier.
12 1/2, 25.
I know this is really basic stuff, but you know, at least gives you a demonstration of how to go about it. But these are just those regular. I like using those Klein anchors. I have them in the link here below. But take your time. Makes for an easy installation. Using that laser kind of gives me guidance to make sure that mirror stays level. But yeah, typically between 12 and 15 inches off the sink is usually where it works pretty well. So as you can see, my wife's videoing me back there. And then touching up things. And yeah, so basically I just kind of have it highlighted here between 12 and 15 inches. I think this was about 13 inches that we actually had there, measuring down. So real basic stuff. But these wall anchors I think are great. I use these for all types of things. And I don't know why. I didn't include that in the link. I'll have to add a link to that. I don't know why I didn't. I should have had them down here. Oh, no, here they are. The Klein anchors, yeah. So a lot of these are on Amazon, but I do have a lot of links from everywhere else too as well. Yeah, Cherry Bomb, as far as lasers go, yeah, they do get expensive really fast. And, the one that I bought here, this green laser, this was by DeWalt. Spent over $500 for that thing, and I'm really not impressed with it because you can see right here, there's like a blank spot right here. It drives me nuts when I'm doing tile work or anything to have and it's because of the housing. They have a protected housing on top, and the laser has these little gaps on 4 different corners around the room. It drives me nuts. I really don't like that. And the DeWalt one that I bought only comes with 1 battery. So, like it goes dead and then I have to wait for it to charge to be used. I'm just not happy with it. So I do have a laser in here. I'm still searching for one that I really highly recommend, but I don't think you need to spend $500 on a laser. I probably would never do that again. Or I shouldn't say never again. I might buy one that, if it was really worth it, but I just have a standard, DeWalt one with regular batteries. I think that's part of the reason the other one was so expensive is because it had the DeWalt battery with it, but it's only a 12 volt battery. So I don't have anything with 12 volt. Everything's 18 volt. So this one's like $140, and yeah, it's a red beam. I don't know. I mean, the green one is nice, for Schluter, like going over Schluter board because it's orange. You can see it better. The green does kind of show up better. But I used to use, like not the DeWalt necessarily. I had a Bosch, the Bosch ones, but they were all about this same price at the $139. And the red ones were just fine. They worked really well. So, yeah, okay, I did buy one. 2017, I bought it. Okay, wow, that was a long time ago. Anyways, yeah, I wouldn't go spending $500 on a laser. I'm really disappointed with it, but I might just try the Stabila laser levels. I think they seem like they have some pretty quality stuff, but they're probably that expensive too. But I think the green, you're spending more money for that green laser, and it's probably really not beneficial in any way. So I do have that, and then the laser pull, that's really helpful. Unfortunately, they don't have the ones that I have in my videos. It was called the Laser Jam, and it was on its own website. I bought it years ago, but I can't seem to find it anymore. It's called the Laser Jam. I love it, but these laser pulls, I mean, you want to pull, you want to be able to adjust it easily. So this is almost as much as the damn laser itself, but you really do want to be able to easily adjust things, because if you're using a tripod or anything like that, that's a real pain in the neck to move up and down. So, I'm in a search for one. I just have these links in here to be somewhat helpful, but at some point I really want to get a good laser and a different type of pull that everyone can buy. All right, so let's get into the toilets. This is probably the biggest point of tonight, or the toilets, especially when it comes to addressing that existing flange. So, a lot of bathrooms, you're not going to replace the flange. There's just really no reason to in a lot of situations. And this was it was basically all copper with brass flanges in this older home. So I'll show you what we had to do here, and then I'll go over a couple different items about the toilets. But, really, these American Standard Cadet 3s, I probably installed just as many as these as I did those Panasonic vent fans. So, I mean, I'm talking at least 40 of these type of toilets. And I, honestly, I almost could say I never got a call back, but I actually got a call back this week. I installed a toilet, 3 months ago, and the fill valve would stopped allowing the water to fill. So I had to change out the fill valve. But prior to that, I knock on wood, I've never had an issue with them except for that one particular issue. And that's, honestly, that's not made by American Standard, it's made by Fluid Master. So I don't know what went on with it for whatever reason. Maybe it got clogged with junk. I think that's probably what happened. It got clogged with dirt or something. So I just replaced the fill valve rather than, contacting American Standard or anything like that. But let's get through this, and I'll give you some more advice on toilet installation.
Okay, so this is a common problem. We put new tile down, and now I'm a 1/4 inch below the surface of the finished floor. Now, all intents and purposes, you probably could just install a jumbo wax ring and put that on there and be fine. But the proper way to do it would be to put an extension ring and get this flush with the edge of the tile. So what we'll do is make sure this is all cleaned up, and we're gonna put a copious amount of silicone all the way around this flange. So around here. Okay, so that's siliconed in. We'll put our toilet bolts in, the existing bolt here. And then we can just set these into place. So you want to make sure that you're even on the other side for your toilet bolts. So we've got plenty of room there, that's good. And just take some galvanized screws and screw this extension ring into place.
Yeah, Troy, I got a comment on that here shortly.
Okay, so now that's all nice and even with the tile now. And then we'll put our wax ring. Okay, so you want one with a horn. That's probably best in this situation using these extension rings. So we just set this in place and then we'll set the toilet on top.
So just lining up those bolts.
So one of the things I really like about American Standard toilets is just instead of using a nut and washer on for the toilet bolts, they use these. These things are great. You can just hand tighten these.
It really does make it simple. I don't know why they all don't make them like this. If I could buy toilet bolts that just had these with them, I would just buy those. I don't see any reason to actually have a nut with a washer. I mean, it works really well. It's easy to install, and so you just want to jiggle that around, make sure it's not moving in any way. If you have to shim it, you have to shim it.
Okay, so you put this little wax ring, or not wax ring, but this little gasket on your tank. And this is kind of nice. It comes with a little plastic handle so that you can put it on the bottom of your bolt.
So you can see how nice and tight that is to the wall.
Okay, so just some linesmans. Okay, so for the around the toilet, I think it's the best and it looks the best if you caulk around the edge of the toilet. We're going to be using Latticesil, a matching caulking for our grout. So always leave just like a little bit of area behind the toilet just in case there was a leak and that you have indication of it, but it's really tough to caulk all the way in the back anyways, but just where you can visually see.
This really makes it a lot more sanitary doing this. Now, I used to be afraid to do this with the silicone because I was afraid of how much of a mess it would make. But I'll show you a tip here. You've probably seen it by many by at this point, but it'll make it so much easier to clean that up and make it look really nice.
And clear Windex.
Yeah, that just prevents it from smearing on the tile. Hardest part is just right where the grout joints are. So I actually looked at this video later and I was like, oh, I left a gap there. So I actually did go back and fill that in. But anyways, having the caulking at the bottom not only secures the toilet better in a way, but it makes it a lot more sanitary too.
That'll stay all nice and clean. Nothing will get underneath of there. And it definitely looks a lot better. It'll last a lot longer too. Okay.
Okay, so that's the installation. But yeah, Troy, you're asking me about these rubber gaskets. So I do have a link here for the American Standard toilet. There's a lot of different Cadet 3s. There's all these different types of models. But like I said, these things are really great. I've never really had an issue except to that last one last week with the fill valve. Now it could have been just a fluke. But yeah, so I just kind of go over things. But here's one point that you want to double check. So when you're measuring this, you want to measure from the actual wall or add on the thickness of your base trim. So I had 11 inches, so I had 11 and a half inches technically from my actual wall. So that would be a 12-inch rough-in toilet because they come in 3 different sizes, 10, 12, and 14. And that's all referencing the center of the toilet to the actual wall where the tank fits behind. So the tank is what's the difference is between those different models. So like the 10-inch one, it's a more narrow tank that allows it to sit back. All the bases are basically the same. It's just the tank that's bigger. Most of all the ones that you see at the box stores are basically going to be 10-inch. They probably won't even have any 14-inch rough-ins in stock. This is something that you would have to get. So if you had, and I basically say in my experience, anything within a 3/4 of an inch, you go with that common size. So if this measurement from the actual wall was 11 1/4 inches, I'd still be able to use a 12-inch rough in. So, keep that in mind. If it's 12 1/4, I mean, I would still probably go with the 12-inch. I mean, who cares about that 1/4 inch? It's not that big of a deal. Normally, I wouldn't even get a 14-inch rough in unless it was 13 and a half inches or something like that. If I had 13 and a half inches, I'd probably go with the 14 because then I can have a nice tight joint. So basically deduct 3/4 of an inch off of the rough in, and that's the maximum size you're going to be able to fit. So I've had 11 1/4 inches of space. I'd go with the 12-inch. Otherwise, if you go with the 10-inch, you're going to have a sizable gap behind the toilet tank. So if you had 13 1/4, I'd probably go with the 14-inch at that point. Anything under that, I would do the 12-inch. So I have that all stated here for reference on that. And then evaluating your toilet flange depth. Again, a lot of these jumbo rings, they prefer that the OD prefers the flange to be flush or 1/4 inch above the floor. So you can actually have a flange that sits on top of the floor, and that would be sufficient. They just don't want it to be way down below. So these extension rings, If you were a half inch, if you were 3/4 of an inch lower, you can stack these. You just keep adding more of them on there. Just add silicone in between each layer. These are all, I believe, they're a 1/4 inch thick. Maybe they're 3/8 inch thick. I have to look at it again. But I have the link in here for these extension rings. So you can add as many on there as you need. You're just going to have to add more silicone to the whole thing. And then just fastening it in through that existing flange. Now that can be kind of troublesome, on a cast iron flange. This was brass, and I was able to drill right through some of those sections, but you might have to pilot bit some of that to drill through that flange. Now the American Standard kits, these toilets, they do come with everything. They do have a wax ring. I don't personally like the wax rings that they come with. They're really, really soft and cheap compared to the OD ones that you can purchase. So I still like buying, I have a link down below for these wax rings. But what I'm really starting to turn towards now is getting these foam gaskets. The problem is you just can't get them at the big box stores most of the time. But the Sani seals, the waxless, this really makes it foolproof. The foam, I think the elasticity of the foam is going to outlast wax for sure. But the other nice thing about it is that you can, if you've never installed a toilet before, you have as many times as you need to set that toilet into place. Because the foam isn't going to get ruined. If you go to set down a toilet over wax and you misplace it, and you smash it in some way, you ruin that wax ring, and you're going to have to get a new one to start over again. It's a very small point to make here in a way, but if you set that toilet down over the wax ring, you don't have it centered over the bolts correctly, and you're trying to move it around, you probably ruin the gasket meeting the toilet flange. This takes all of that fussing out of the way, and It's funny. It's funny being on social media and adding comments like this or putting foam gaskets. I think this is better than wax. I really do. I think this is going to last much longer. But there are a lot of plumbers out there that think these things are crap. Now, I don't like these ones. I did use these ones before, this Fluid Master. And this is basically like a hybrid in a way because it has wax underneath of the rubber, which is weird. So it kind of has the same aspect as using a wax ring. Is if you sat that toilet down incorrectly for any reason, then you've ruined the ability for this to seal towards the toilet properly. I was not impressed with these Fluid Master waxless. They're not even waxless because there's wax in them. They just don't. The wax doesn't actually mount to the actual toilet itself. So you're seeing these because Fluid Master is obviously a big brand. So you're seeing these at the home stores and stuff like that. I don't like them. These Sani seals are much, much easier to work with. And I always order these, but sometimes I don't have them on hand. And that's where just using a standard, like the Fluid Master wax rings, like this one right here, is totally a very good wax ring. I would go with this all day long. You're not going to have a problem with it, but these, I'll have some future. I already have a video on my YouTube channel where I'm going with the rubber gaskets from now on because I had a rental property where the wax ring failed, 6 or 7 years later, and it caused a whole bunch of damage to my home. So I feel like these are going to prevent a lot of issues. So I would definitely implore you to check this out. And they're not that. They are expensive. They're what? Where's the? Oh, they don't even have. I don't know why I don't have buying options on here. $15. So yeah, it is 5 times the cost. But anyways, it's like I said, it makes it easy to install when you're not. The other situation I use these on, thinking about it now, is if I'm working in a home that only has one bathroom, has one toilet. It's very important for that client for me to have that toilet back in every day so that they have a place to use. And so that's where I use these rubber these gaskets. These don't go bad. I could keep taking the toilet off and resetting them otherwise I have to get a new wax ring every single day that I'm working there, and it can be problematic. So that's just something to think about. If you didn't get your project done in the timely fashion that you wanted to by the end of week 1, you can use one of these gaskets and pull the toilet later when you want to do the floor, So that's just an option to be able to do it. But American standard toilets, I really like these little fasteners. It makes it really easy to anchor that toilet into place. And I just basically go through basically what we did in the video, just to give you reference to it. But yeah, caulk your toilets. I think it makes a big difference with sanitary means in it. And also, if you had any issues with rocking of any sort, when you silicone the space, it is solidly sitting there. It's not moving. So wow, Troy. So you're really back ordered on everything's back ordered. This is really kind of concerning to see all these things being difficult to get. So let's get into the accessories because I want to finish up this. Of course, tonight we're already an hour and a half in. I can keep talking about bathrooms forever. So I guess I'm in the right type of field here because time flies when I'm on here. But hey, thanks everyone for being here. Give me a like if you haven't been on here long enough and you haven't given me a like on this video. It definitely helps out the algorithm. But thanks for being here. And so let's get into the accessories. I just basically a lot of tips on here are for installing that shower rod. Now there's a lot of shower rods out there now that they don't have anchors that you anchor into your tile work. But I'm old school. I still like those towel shower rods that you actually anchor in because they don't move at all, and I just think it's a better way to go. But here, let's watch this here. Okay, so this is where having that plywood behind here makes it a lot easier. Screw these in. Okay, so yeah, having that blocking behind her makes it a lot easier. And I'll be honest, this is one of the last parts of the project, and I really, really dislike installing accessories. They're very difficult a lot of times. They're usually fairly cheap, a lot of them, even the name brands. Using the Allen wrench key and trying to make everything sit straight can be very frustrating. But if you have blocking behind the wall, that's going to at least make it easier for hanging your new fixture. Now, there are a lot of times that you don't have blocking where it needs to be, and you can use the plugs and anchors that the accessories come with. The other alternative is to use a toggle bolt to help out as well. In this instance, this is one that I just use the plugs with, and it's just yeah, so let me highlight that. So this obviously this was an add-on. I wasn't expecting her to want a towel hook. Makes a lot of sense to have a towel hook here. You're using the shower, you've got a towel hook. These plugs are sufficient. They're not the best, but if you were, I'm not sure exactly why I didn't do it in this particular situation. I think I just liked the anchors that these ones actually came with. You have to pay attention to what you purchase. Some of these cheap accessories really don't have very good anchors with them at all. But if you put a toggle bolt in one of these, it'll really make sure that it's well secured. Now, you have to drill a sizable hole, usually like a 3/8 inch hole for it. But if you put a toggle bolt at least on one of them, then you'll be ensured that it's going to be a good anchoring system. So if you don't have blocking behind it prior, I would definitely get some toggle bolts. I have the links down below on this as well for that towel rack. So, those still definitely Thanks, Abraham. Work. It's just obviously better to have the blocking behind the wall. This again, laser makes a big difference. Makes it a lot easier. And then I had blocking behind here as well, so that just made it a breeze. And really shouldn't have an issue in the future as far as the mounting of these. But yeah, a lot of these set screws and stuff, they still suck. They're still not done very well. But okay, so typically a shower rod is between 58 and 62 inches.
So we're going right at the center. We're gonna be at 60 inches for the top of our, or right to the center of our shower rod. And that worked out perfectly with our border that we planned. So this is goes all the way down alongside the tub. So you kind of want to be in the middle of your tub rim here. So we're just going to keep it over about an inch from the edge. And then we'll just mark a couple places for some screws. Now I'm going to be using a Talon Stone by Drywall. It's made for glass. That's glass. So you just want to be sure that you're using the right bit for the right type. Now if you had porcelain, you would want to go with a porcelain bit. So this says porcelain. These things are really great for porcelain, but there's no need for this. This is actually a little bit more accurate with the pointer. So I like to use this for glass.
Well, good, Bob. I'm glad you're
already
getting
got
some out of it.
wood
Thank you.
blocking back there, so we can just screw this straight in.
Tell you what, it's actually was tough to find a straight rod that you screwed in because everything was just the compression type. But I don't know. I guess most of them are compression type these days. But I like these because they really stay intact. So I did end up breaking out that other bit. It did say it was for glass, and that bit did not work very well. So I ended up using the Diamond Plus Milwaukee bit for the rest of this. I really do like those Diablo blades, but in this instance, it kind of burned out the bit pretty quickly. So you can always kind of rely on these diamond bits. They're just a little bit more difficult to actually get centered. As you can see, I had to put it in at an angle to get it to maneuver straight. So, so just keep that in mind. But if you were going through just straight ceramic tile, those Diablo blades would work really well. Okay, so again, planning ahead, planning all this stuff, like it's not like that border was just came into that area. This is all planning ahead for where you want these things to be. And I really like that look. I've always liked having the border right at where the shower rod is. That's personal preference. You could do whatever you want when it comes to that. But again, planning ahead on some of these things really makes a big difference. So, really, so like that's because basically what I'm outlining here. You can go back to day 4 thinking about that tile layout so that you can make sure that that border comes in at that 60-inch location. So then, basically go through everything. Toggle bolt on the one side of this would make a big difference for drywall. A lot of these just regular anchors that go into the drywall, they're not going to last on a lot of pulling or anything like that. So I do highly recommend that. But yeah, these Diamond Plus bits, they do really, I really do think they do last 10 times as long. So if you're in question of what you're going through, you can always kind of somewhat rely on these to be able to get them through. So I have that in the link here. They're only $15. I think they're $15. Why isn't that? Probably nothing's available anymore. I don't know. That should have been something. Yeah, $15. So it's not too bad. But I got the link in the description there for you. Makes it easy. And I think Home Depot right now is carrying them. So let's get back to this real quick. And then I just have the list of things. Actually, I don't know where my bottom comment section went. I guess I didn't have that on there. So last part of the day, this is it. Carpet transition area. This is basically just finishing up this edge against the Schluter edge. Be just a couple minutes on this, and yeah, we'll be finished with this whole project.
Okay, so when you put this carpet strip back down, leave a little bit of space in between your channel here.
Okay, now I should mention, so leaving that 1/4 inch gap is correct. Now, I got called out on this by a lot of carpet guys, and I guess I was just kind of exhausted at the end of this day. Turn this thing around the other way. These little pegs should be, or the writing on this, the says premium carpet guard, that should be facing you. As you can see, they have that all facing you against the rest of the room. So you can see how they have the angles on the carpet tack strip angling towards the wall. So I had this in the wrong direction. But anyways, that's a minute thing, but it is an important thing, and I really should have paid attention to that.
The Rondeck, so you can tuck the carpet in between that space. I'm just leaving about a 1/4 inch in between that Rondeck and the carpet strip here. Okay, so then we're just gonna cut this. I'm gonna have to cut a little bit of this off.
So I usually cut about a 1/4 inch past that Schluter edging.
So what you want to do is take your carpet knife and just try to tuck that into that 1/4 inch space.
So having a stretcher and all those things would have made this more professional as well. So take that with a grain of salt as well. I mean, a carpet guy would have probably done definitely some different things here to a certain extent, but you know, this turned out great. It turned out fine. And this is primarily the way I get it done as well. I'm not going to call a carpet installer to come out and do this, and I'm not going to start buying tools for carpet either. For small transitions, like I'm a bathroom guy. That's primarily all I do. So,
Okay, so that's all really is to it. It's just constantly stuffing everything in there, get all nice and tight into that joint. And if there's any stragglers, you can just cut some of that out. Try to tuck it back in there.
okay, so that wraps it up right there. So if you got to this point, congratulations. You definitely did a lot of work, and I'm telling you what, if you remodel your own bathroom, you will gain so much, not just the confidence and the luxury of having it every day. It just really enlightens your mood every day. I really think, having a nice space to relax and having a clean, nice looking, sharp looking thing, you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I think it's worth the investment and the time effort that you put into it. So that basically wraps up my course. So be sure to check that out at bathroomremodeling.teachable.com. I'll leave it in the description below. But thanks for everyone being here tonight. I really appreciate it. I think I have one question I missed. He's probably not even in here anymore, but he was asking me about wet saws. The DeWalt wet saw is probably my favorite wet saw. Let me see if I probably have it in the links in one of these here, probably in the towel setting section here. Let me look at that. So thin set towel, toweling and plumbing. Well, I probably have it in here somewhere. But the DeWalt saw, I think, is one of the best ones. I've had a lot of different wet saws over the years. I had the what do you call it? The trolley saws, I had of all kinds, but this is the one that I think that most towel contractors start out with or do have. Now, I know that's a big price tag, and I wouldn't recommend you necessarily go out and buy a $900 saw to do a bathroom. But if you are doing multiple bathrooms, or if you are planning to do some of this for your family, friends, whatever, this is definitely going to be probably one of the most, is a very versatile saw. It works really well. And like I said, I've purchased a lot of different, very expensive saws. The Immer saw. What else did I have? I had a whole bunch of ones that were well over $1,500, and this does everything any of one of those can do. And I've been really, really, really pleased with it. So getting a good blade for your saw makes a world of difference. Those DeWalt blades aren't really all that great. Let me see if I might have that in the link down here below. But I use Montolit blades. So where do I have my wet saw? There it is. So I have it in here. This is what I would purchase for porcelain. This is basically what I have on my wet saw for everything, is these DNA blades. So you can see the price tag of that, $200. Not a cheap blade, but if you're doing tile all the time, I mean, I probably haven't changed that blade in over a year, and I've probably done about 7 or 8 maybe even more than that. At least 8 bathrooms anyways. So I've done a lot of tile on this blade, and it lasts a really long time. So if invest in a good blade, makes a world of difference. So yeah, so thanks, Troy. Hope your project's going well. Troy is a member on my course here. So but hey, thanks so much. Give me a like on this video. And when I get this checklist done, I'll bring out another video. And please subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell on my YouTube channel, because that will give you some indication of, clicking on that bell up here. Can you even see it? Yeah. Having that little bell notification, having that on there, that'll indicate, because I usually a couple hours beforehand, I'll notify everybody when I'm having a live stream. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you soon.